It's about time I share some long-term thoughts on Palantir stock. We've grown quite a community here, and based on the poll that I ran a few days ago that got nearly 2,000 votes, we have approximately 500,000 shares collectively. Now the math isn't exact, but I think that is very impressive. And briefly consider how much market value that has created. Assuming a 50% gain on all of those shares, considering how much the stock has soared since IPO, that would be a summation of a gain of $2.5 million. Crazy. So in this video, I'm not going to talk as much about where the stock is today as where it is headed and what targets I have for the long term. But I want to stress that I cannot tell you to buy Palantir with these targets in mind. First, because they could be way off. And while I was right about Tesla, that by no means justifies you buying into the hype of Palantir for no reason. Second, because everyone's financial setup is different and you must match your goals to your risk tolerance. I'll be releasing many videos in the coming days. One of them is going to be me going over my investment philosophy. Stay tuned for that. For now, I want to overview by saying that I like PLTR because of its growth, its bold, idealistic mission, and its employees. From my experience, a powerful trifecta like that is how to find companies that are likely to, but not guaranteed to, succeed. I've done a great deal of research on this company so far, and you have seen most of it if you've been following along on this journey. To start, I'm going to play some video clips that I feel greatly represent the essence of this company and can give us a sense of where they are headed. I'll be back to talk about future valuation and market dominance of Palantir. Listen closely to their words.
What jumped out at a lot of people was that, we grew 49% at the beginning of the year, that our software margins are super solid, and that we grew this 49% off of a pretty large base. And, more people spend more time looking at other companies, will note that there are very, very, very few companies, if any, that are similar to Palantir in any way, that are growing 49% off of a large base with the margins we have, both gross margins and contribution margins. And then the question becomes, well, how does a company which has been in existence for 17 years and has this scale surge forward? Of course, we didn't know that COVID would come, but we were betting that there would be economic and political conditions that meant the old way of building the Frankenstein monster internally, or purchasing 50 products that are supposed to be sewn together according to a PowerPoint generated by a non-technical consultant, would not be efficacious when your business would either live or die based on whether you can rebuild your enterprise stack overnight, and in our case, within hours. And so the supposition of Foundry was individual trinkets may be appealing to people building their business based on some report written on past norms and needs, but would not be able to service the needs of a growing, of a market shift of galactic nature. And we put enormous resources against building this. And there was internal disagreement. We're a company that embraces disagreement. But even as of a couple years ago, there was enormous discussion about whether a product that would be ideally suited for a world where everything has to change overnight, as COVID and other future macro and political crisis would generate, would be something when you could just build something much similar that amounts to a little widget that's well understood by everyone, because already there's 50,000 reports written about it and every company has it. That was a subject of enormous debate. And had we been wrong about the way the world was gone, people would be questioning whether we're sane or not, or further questioning my lunacy. But the lurching forward of Palantir on revenue, gross margins, contribution margins, is because we built a product 5 years before it was needed, just like we did with PG and just like we'll do in the future. And this is why a small motley crew of a couple thousand people scattered around the globe can generate 49% growth.
We founded the company in 2003 really with a singular ambition focused on national security that I'd kind of summarize as, why can't we have more privacy and more security? So it took us a long time to build and release our first product. It was 5 years. In 2008, we released Gotham. And then quickly on the back of that, we expanded into the adjacencies beyond intelligence, defense, law enforcement, the prosecutorial space, regulation and oversight. The CDC, for example, has been a customer for over a decade. In 2012, we started more aggressively pursuing opportunities in the commercial space. And there's part of that journey that went really well. Gotham has very strong product market fit for anti-money laundering or anti-fraud. But what we were really doing is that we were earning the right to have an opinion, specifically an opinion of what software ought to exist to solve our customers' problems, what software we would want ourselves in their shoes. Over to this rock solid platform baseline upon which we've been able to accelerate revenue growth every year since. And in 2018, 2019, we really doubled down investing in R&D that enabled customer independence, allowing our customers to get ever increasing value from the products without us.
Alright, I hope that video compilation was insightful for you. Let us return to the trifecta of growth, mission, and culture. Back to what I care about in a company. I want growth in my investments. Otherwise, what are you doing wasting your time? Sure, growth stocks are riskier, but I believe the return on investment far outweighs the risk in many instances. Only time will tell, but I think, as is evidenced by ARK Invest's success, by investing in disruptive and innovative companies that shatter the status quo, you can derive great value that way. So growth. I want at least double-digit yearly growth. Palantir is forecasting for year-over-year revenue growth to be greater than 30% through 2021. In my earnings recap video, I said I wanted Palantir to really push that and accelerate their growth even more. But if they can sustain 30% compound annual growth, also known as CAGR for compound annual growth rate, that would be wonderful. At this point, I'm not sure they've given guidance for many years out. However, I think it is clear that the market opportunity is there for Palantir's potential market dominance. Palantir works with organizations of all kinds, governments and businesses of big and small. Their market potential, keyword potential, is almost infinite if you really think about it. I've had people commenting that the product is as good as Palantir claims it to be. And that's really important to hear. Here's a quote from Matthew Weaver. Gotham is amazing software, very intuitive, a very powerful tool to connect different units and cut down on misinformation. I think the biggest gain from it, though, would have to be the ease of communication from top down and bottom up, something all militaries struggle in. In my opinion, it's the future of warfighting. And that feedback is huge. Please, I want anyone that has come into contact with anything Palantir has done, be that software or anything else, please let me know what your experience has been. Perhaps I'll reach out to them and see if I could get some sort of demo version of software just to mess around with and see. Palantir, if you're out there, contact me. Now for the mission. Palantir states their mission to be helping, quote, our users, the people doing the hard work, on complex, real-world problems. We do this by writing software that enables effective analysis against complicated, data-driven problems, end quote. If I'm being quite honest, I have to say that is a little too general of a mission. But then again, I've done the research and I now see how there are really limitless applications to the software platforms they have. It seems that unofficially, Palantir's mission is to end terrorism and save jobs. Here's a quick clip from Alex Karp on the subject.
So your point, Alex, is that Silicon Valley tech companies should be doing more to promote job creation, and Palantir software is helping that effort?
Well, I mean, you're being diplomatic. I think they should do more to stop destroying jobs. And we're doing innovation with jobs. The West Coast of America is eating up every job on the planet. And that's a problem for our society. Our choice as a company is that we want to be involved in this, and we are driving really, really hard on this. You know, the more we focused on these deep philosophical issues, the more we've crushed it as a business.
And so the idea is that Palantir software is creating jobs at a Chrysler plant.
Well, it's preserving jobs, because once the 1,500 employees are using the software, they're actually doing things that otherwise you'd need a PhD to do. And so you're making them as valuable as the PhD in software. And it scales across the enterprise. So they're more valuable than a single PhD in software because what they figure out then scales across the enterprise. Once they figure out, okay, well, this part and this part interact in a weird way. If we change that, then everyone in the whole, and in fact, you see this at Airbus as well, where you have these 5,000 people and a myriad of airlines hitting this data stack, which allows them to lower costs and, quite frankly, obviously more important to most of us, increase safety.
So why do I think the mission of a company is important? I think it is really one of the most crucial determinants of success of a business. It drives everyone towards an end goal. Take my beloved Tesla, for example. You can't tell me Tesla would be here today without its mission being one of the most inspiring ones on the planet. It has allowed them to do most of the most incredible work for sustainable energy of anyone, anywhere. Elon and Tesla's aspiration to change the world is what inspired me to start this channel. Then I stumbled upon Palantir, and I hadn't had the same visceral connection to a company until I did when I realized the scope of PLTR's own ambition. They are building software stacks that are going to change the world for the best. Right now, humanity is at the height of intelligence. We have the most advanced computing ever, the smartest people to ever live, and some of the most challenging problems yet to solve in society. That's where I get to the employees. Alex Karp is a beast. His hair turned into a bit of a meme on one of my earlier compilation videos. He looks like a guy that wants to put a dent in the universe, if I may give a nod to Steve Jobs. And while Karp has not led Palantir to greatness thus far, considering they are not yet profitable, I think both CEO Karp and co-founder Thiel can motivate their employees to do great work. And while I'm on that topic, I've heard anecdotally that Palantir goes after some of the smartest engineers out there. Talent matters, and from what I can tell, Palantir has it. They seem to be paying big to keep it, with so much in stock-based compensation. But if the C-suite deems it necessary, I am in full support. Now I'm going to share some comments from subscribers that I've found quite brilliant when thinking about the long term of this company. Here's Nick saying, quote, "Note to anyone looking at the financial statement. Read the part about the normalization of the results to exclude stock-based compensation. After normalizing, their quarter-over-quarter results are revenue quarter-over-quarter increased 9%, gross margin increased 9%, selling and marketing costs decreased 36%. And he goes on to say, my favorite extracts from their earnings call. Number 1, a major consumer goods company in the United States recently turned to Palantir after an investment of more than $100 million in another enterprise software platform failed to produce results. Number 2, the energy company identified an additional $315 million in cost savings opportunities using our software, and the company's management is currently targeting $1 billion in total savings in the coming year through the use of our platform. Number 3, Palantir's work with healthcare organizations across the federal government has accelerated this year, and they continue to expand their reach with the nation's defense and intelligence agencies, including the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force. These are management's assertions, so take them as such, but overall this shows that Palantir's software has tremendous value to their customers, which is what ultimately determines if Palantir will become a successful long-term company. Then someone else jumped in to add, quote, I think this company has the potential to be the future monopoly of software companies. It's like Snowflake on steroids, because they're looking about 10 to 15 years ahead of Snowflake in my opinion. Apollo software as a service now too. Imagine having a company but no idea how to take all you know and make software specifically for you that your company can use because it's made with them in mind. Snowflake is a platform that specific engineers know how to use because it's just a big database combining software that is kind of like an all-in-one solution. These two companies serve similar areas, but Palantir wins in two ways. 1. Emerging software companies would rather have software specific to the data they need, instead of a Swiss Army knife approach. This creates an umbrella of corporations who run on your software, so the back end can be massive, and those corporations would theoretically exponentially grow with the help of the branches of their software. Trying to think about 10 to 20 years out to see the direction of the company just blows my mind when comparing Snowflake and Palantir, and this company seems to be looking deeper into the future. So I'm going to save a full comparison between Snow and PLTR for a little later on. Hit like if you want to see that. 1,000 likes and I'll release it early. And finally, for my price targets. I think this company is strong, and, again, please do your own due diligence before investing. I said the stock was going to 15, then 18, and we've blown through all those targets. The end of the year is not that far out. I'm going to pin it as a $20 stock by the end of 2020. I know it could go higher, but I'm fine with that conservative estimate. Regardless, I don't care much about this stock a month from now, but I will be here to cover the movement. How about the end of 2021? I'd say bear case $25, target of $35, and a bull case of $50 if everything goes right for Palantir in 2021. And if we look a few more years out, I'd pin Palantir for the beginning of 2025 at a bear case of $100, target of $200, and a bull case of $300. Now keep in mind, that's 5 years from now. Please understand that these are arbitrary targets. I didn't run any sort of models to get here. It's just how I'm feeling about the companies so far. Now what do you think? That would put them at a $500 billion market cap. That's 16x from here. I'm not expecting it, but I do see it as the ultimate high end if it were to ever become a reality. Is Palantir the next giant company 10 years out? I've got so much new content coming. Hit like if you appreciate this production, and subscribe if you're new. Until next time, peace.